Okay. So I'm back, and I have more sticky notes about things that I wanted to talk about with Evangelicals. This is another video about being an ex-evangelical, and this is a secular people to evangelical, maybe explainer. I don't know if it's an explainer, translator maybe. So today, I think what I wanted to talk about, and I didn't get to this last time, was love bombing. So if you're not familiar with the term of love bombing, I put on my screen that you can't see, I put a little definition from Wikipedia. So from the Wikipedia entry on love bombing, it says, love bombing is an attempt to influence a person by demonstrations of attention and affection. And it's, let's see, critics of cults use the phrase with the implication that the love is feigned and that the practice is psychological manipulation in order to create a feeling of unity within the group against a society perceived as hostile. So, evangelicals, right? Let me tell you a story about love bombing, and then I'll talk a little bit about it and loopholes, and because this is a thing I think that you can see happening to people online as well. It's not just a church thing, but evangelicals do use it a lot, and I think a lot of people who live in places that are like majority evangelical Christians, white people. I'm not sure if this applies to other kinds of churches, but majority, what you think of when you think of evangelicals. In the South, there's some other places in the Midwest, I think, where maybe some places where it's more everybody is involved in this thing. So the people will be familiar with it who are not within the church, because there's a real problem in my experience living in the South of people being like, oh, what church do you go to, right, to try to place you. And then if you're like, oh, I don't, because I don't like to lie to people. And if I lie and make up a church, then they're definitely going to know someone at that church, and then it's just, I lied because I didn't want to talk about it. Which I think now I would just be like, I lied to you because I didn't want to have this conversation, and then let it, go with that, or just be like, I don't want to talk about church, or some way to stop the conversation. But when I was younger, I would just be like, oh, well, I don't really go to church. And then people would start trying to pull me into their pyramid scheme, aka church. So basically, the way that love bombing works is that somebody pretends to want to be your friend, and sometimes they'll do this for really long time, months. Sometimes it goes on for months, and it's a lot. People will be like, oh, can we help you? Let us take you out to dinner. Come to our house. We'll help you with, do you need some groceries? Oh no, we'll help you. Oh, we've got this over here. Oh, don't worry about it. It's not about church. It's not about that. I've seen people do it with oh, can we help you with your kids? Not my kids. I don't have kids. That cat's my kid. But, oh, can we help you with this? Can we help you with that? Not even just oh, we're making friends, you see somebody a few times, then you're like, hey, and, maybe let's go have some coffee or something. No, it's intensity of we are best friends, we're family, they treat you way better than my family treated me, that's for sure. And then, you get to a point where they ask you the question, so, now that, basically, so, parentheses unsaid, now that we've done all this stuff for you, ... come to church with us, right? And then, when you say, you're in a spot, right? Because this person's been really nice to you, and if you don't go to church with them, they're going to get offended. But I don't want to go to church. So what do I do? So I made this like really intense promise to myself when I left the church that I was like, I'm never going to set foot in a church again unless it's like socially required for like a wedding or a funeral. Like other than that, if I have a choice, I'm not going to go. And so I've been pretty true to that since I was a teenager. And so when people would, they do all this stuff and then they get to the point and, do you want to go to church? And I would be like, thank you very much, but I respectfully decline. And they would never hear from these people again. Never. Like, they lost your number. Like, you fall off the face of the earth. And the worst part is the person who did this to me the most was my own sister. She would, and I mean, this was psychologically brutal to kind of go through. And it's the reason why I no longer speak to my sister. Because I can't trust her. That even if I don't know what she could even do at this point to make me think that she really wanted to reconcile with me. Like there's nothing, right? Because it's like 4 or 5 times that she's been like, so we never got along because she's super into Jesus, and then before that super into being a conformist. Let's maybe be kind and put it that way. So I'm not gonna say mean things about her on the YouTubes. But so okay, so she would be like, we were not friends. Let's put it that way. We were not friends. We were, if it was possible for 2 people to be mortal enemies more than we were, I don't know. Because we hated each other. Absolute nemesis, mortal enemies. This is my sister. We hated each other. And so, but people tell you, like, oh, you get older, you'll get over it, whatever. Like, and so, as we get older, and she would kind of come to me and be like, well, we were kids, so, like, let's put all that aside, and, like, we can be friendly, or we can be cordial, or, like, cordial, okay, I'm like, all right, I'll buy cordial. And so then, she's like, oh, do you want to come do this thing with me? And I'm like, okay, sure, and I multiple times, like, because, she would want to say things to me about Jesus, and I would just be like, it doesn't land for me. That's the nicest way I can put it. The meanest way I can put it is real mean, but, I got to a certain point where I was like, I don't want to be mean about Jesus to you. I just, like, can we just not talk about that? Like, if we're going to have a relationship, it's going to have to be a relationship where we don't discuss Jesus. Like, ever. Ever. Right? And, like, she just made it really clear that she thinks that the reason why I don't believe is only and solely because people were mean to me. Which, they were, and more than mean. But also, it still doesn't make any sense to me. The reason they started being mean to me was because I started saying, like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And that's where it wasn't like the mean came first and then the positions were reversed. So anyway, this is going to get kind of long, but so, oh God, it's already too long. Oh, I should probably start this over and try to explain better, but I'm not. I'm just going to keep going. Okay, so basically what she would do is she would pretend she wanted to be my friend. And I would, because it's hurtful to have a sister who hates you. Like, that's, like, hurtful. And there's not, like, a place there's nowhere you can, like, go to get people to, like, understand that. Like, I don't believe in the right religion, so, and I'm fat and embarrassing, so therefore my sister hates me. Like, people are just like, she doesn't really hate you. She does, though. She really does. And she like always did. And the only use that I am to her is like as a like it's embarrassing for her to have a sister who doesn't believe that's like a spirit mark against her. So she's got to do whatever she can to try to like force me back into the church and like she doesn't care what it does to me mentally. She doesn't care what I want. Like that doesn't matter, you know. So she would just be like basically the last time I talked to her, and this repeated multiple times, like I say 4 or 5 times. She'd get me like it's a long con, right? She'd get me like ready to go, like oh she'd soften me up by being nice for a while, and then you know because like that was something that I like desperately wanted. Then she would be nice and she would act like she wanted to be around me. And then she would start talking about Jesus again. And I would be like, can we not do that? And then she would be like, and come to church with me. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. If you want to be nice to me, you're just gonna have to be nice to me for my own sake and because I'm your sister. And then she would get angry. And basically the last time I spoke to her, we had a conversation where I was like, I don't know why you would, you know, do this thing that you did specifically to hurt me. Like, you know, I've told you multiple times, like, I'm not coming back into the church. And she was just like, well, you know, I was like, well, I thought you know, you said you wanted to be friends. And she's like, I don't really want to be friends with you. I just did that stuff to get you back into the church because, like, I owe that effort to Jesus. And, like, she thinks that's fine, right? Like, she thinks that's, like, okay. So I can basically like never trust her again because she keeps doing this. And like at a certain point, at least if you're me, like at a certain point I was just like, I can't, it's too painful, I can't do this anymore. So I stopped talking to her. And that's why love bombing sucks. Like, because it's manipulation and you don't really love the person because, like, there's no room in being an evangelical for love or for family. Because if your family doesn't agree, if you don't agree with everything, if you don't submit yourself to every, like, berserk thing that your family wants, then you are out and you don't have a family anymore. And that's how a cult treats people. So that's that, I guess. Yeah. I mean, as you can tell, this is like excruciatingly painful stuff for me. But I don't have time to talk about the others. this other note, so I'll have to do that another time. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's not good. That's it. I'm gonna stop it now. All right, bye.